What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Virzi Effect podcast show. My name is Paul Virzi, and you guys listening to episode 483. And I have a guest today that I've actually been waiting to have this guest on the Virzi Effect for a long time, but he told me to go fuck myself for 3 years. And, no, he never told me to go fuck you. That's not in his character. He's a great guy. This man, you know, from his amazing roles on the hit television show Rescue Me. He's had multiple stand-up specials on Comedy Central, Top Gear, a great car show, which I didn't realize how much into cars he was, which as I get older, I'm into cars. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Ferrara is on the Virzi Effect. Thank you, buddy.
Good to see you, my friend. And I said, you call me when you get up to 482. That's when I want you to call me.
He said, how dare you call me when you're still in the hundreds, low hundreds.
For God's sake, what are you, 190? We're dealing with kids here? Tell you what, 482. That's when my phone rings and not before.
Listen, anything under 475 is an insult to me and my family.
I'm going to forget this little incident, but I want you to think hard about it. 193.
I gotta tell you something. That background that you have, that's not real, correct?
This is a poster in my garage.
I gotta tell you, that's one of the best. That is one of the best backdrops I have seen as far as like crisp and realistic looking. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a poster. It's actually the exterior of Abbey Road Studios in London.
Wow, that's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
I built this little studio in my garage about 15 minutes before they said, "Hey, it's a pandemic, stay home." So I had no idea that this is what the shot was going to look like. I'm on Sesame Street, but that's what it looks like. I use the word studio, Paulie. It's my garage. I'm being phased out. My wife is moving me closer and closer to the street.
Yeah, I love how comics call it a studio. I got to like walk past my dog, my kids' games. Yeah. I open a little door and then I'm in this little nook and I'm like, oh, it's my studio. Then you go to Sirius XM and you're like, all right, I don't have shit. Okay.
That's a studio. This is my garage. Clapton ain't walking down the street going, are you done in Studio One? No, that's not happening.
Adam.
Yes, sir.
I met you at Levity Live. You were headlining. I walked in. The people at Levity Live were great. They said, oh, if you want to get on, I'm sure Adam wouldn't have a problem. I met you. I was working on something. You said, absolutely, get on. We never met before that, but for some reason, maybe I associate, because a lot of people associate me with a lot of my friends like Bobby Kelly and Bill Burr and some guys that are from Boston as a Boston guy. And I know that you similarly had friends that were from Massachusetts, but you are, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Long Island?
Long Island, yeah. Everyone thinks I was from Boston because I was friends with Leary and Lenny Clark. And so everybody thought when we all started touring together, I was a Boston guy. I'm like, listen to me. Do I sound like I'm from the back bay? Come on, listen to me.
Right.
But yeah.
What part of Long Island are you from?
I was born in Queens. I was raised in Huntington. I was born at Hillcrest Hospital in Jamaica. And my father had a little plumbing business. My grandfather had a plumbing business, and both my father and his brother went into it. And we used to live above the plumbing place on Liberty Avenue. And then the neighbor was changing. I remember, I was a baby, and the neighbor was changing. Get in the car. We're heading east. So, we went out east because the gangsters were coming. It was basically, Paul, Mean Streets. I grew up in a Scorsese movie, and my father pretty much knew that the neighborhood's changing, things are changing. The gangsters are moving in. So we got to get out of here.
Wow. Okay.
My father would say, he's like, look, there's no such thing in this world as easy money. Somebody comes to you with a plan to make some easy money, they're going to throw your ass under the bus as soon as shit goes sideways. And a lot of those people are in this family. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
You know your uncle?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. And you are all Italian? Are you an all Italian kid?
I as far as I know, I'm not doing the DNA thing without a court order.
Me neither. You know what? I decided I'm just happy. Like my mother's 100% Greek. My father's 100% Sicilian. And I'm just happy to be a half Greek, half Sicilian. I don't need to find out that I got 2.6% Ecuadorian. I don't need, I just don't need to, I don't need that on my life.
But at this point in my life, this is it. What's it going to change? If there's not enough Native American me to get a casino, there's no way I'll be able to cash in on this shit.
Oh, Adam, I love it. You are coming in hot on the Virzi effect.
Well,
You know?
it's like my friend. They go and don't you want to know about you? I know me. I can't handle the shit I do know about me, Paul. I don't need any deep other shit I got to deal with.
Yeah, the last thing I need is more shit about me that I need to deal with.
I don't want to deal with any more shit about me. You were gracious enough to do my show, which, by the way, they loved it. They loved you on my show.
Dude, your show was great, man.
I had so much fun with you on the show. And my wife even said, she goes, you really got along with him and you both have a lot of the same problems. I go, yeah, I didn't know my thoughts were OCD. Paul labeled the shit that goes on in my head.
Well, you know what's funny, Adam, about that is a lot of people reached out to me thanking me for that because they didn't realize a lot of people hear OCD and they think washing your hands 150 times a day, touching, counting. And yes, that is a part of it. But a pure obsessive, by the way, just so you know, the medical term is puro. Pure obsessive. They call it puro, means, am I going to take a baby and throw it? Am I going to hurt somebody I love? Am I going to, just, pull my junk out right now in the middle of a super, all of these crazy things that you would not do.
Right.
Hopefully. But the nice thing is, here's the nice thing. They say people like you and I, who are a little bit with the thoughts and the OCD, we're more likely to not do it.
Right.
That's why we have the fear of it and the thought. We're more likely to not do it than somebody that doesn't fear the thought. So that was a good thing. But yeah, a lot of people think OCD is physical when you could have a lot of thoughts that, I mean, I'd be on the road, Adam, before I was, I got on a very light medication for it. There's a specific medicine for OCD. I'd be on the road and I'd be in my hotel and I'd had a bad thought and I would sit at the edge of the bed for like 45 minutes, just trying to be like, no, you're okay. Like you could go on with your day. And I'd be like, no, but why would I? Am I a bad person? And I just really had to snap out of it and shit. So I'm glad that even though I use jokes out of it, people hit me up and go, hey man, I have that. And that really is nice to know that I can laugh it off and know that I'm not going to act on that thought. And it's just something that happens because of something wrong with me.
Yeah. Well, it's not, the other thing is that I wanted to ask you this, because I don't get it that much anymore, but when I first moved out here, I moved into Hollywood, and it was I would imagine that I'm driving and I'm getting into a wreck. I would imagine that someone's going to come out and just wham. I could hear it in my head, which is so vivid. And what triggered it was I live down by Hollywood and Cantor's. It's a grid, and every other stop sign, every other intersection has a stop sign. So it's hard to remember, like, do they have to stop? Do I have to stop? And sometimes they come shooting right through. And that's what triggered this thing where I'm driving around picturing a disaster, that I'm going to be in an accident. And my mind wouldn't let go of that.
Yeah.
Is that categorized as OCD or just
no, that's 100% OCD. And what it is so OCD is sparked by fear and anxiety. And once fear and anxiety kick in, it's like it's kind of like a car, right? All of a sudden, first gear is fear, second gear is anxiety, and then when you're really flying, that's when all the OCD, that's when you're on all cylinders.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk to you about that because I was not a car guy until 2 years ago. Okay.
And now.
So yeah, like now I'm like, not only do I'll look at cars as crazy as this, I'll just go on a website and look at a car I obviously can't afford. Okay. Sure. Like I'll just go and look at like a $400,000 car, look at it. Then I'll even start building it. I'll start.
You go to the place, we build it. Then.
Oh yeah, build it and get your monthly estimation. And it's like, I put the tires and then the interior, and I'm an Italian kid, so I go crazy for white leather, right? So I white the whole thing out, it comes to, this thing's only going to cost me, $10K a month, and I'm never going to, but when did you, because I remember before we met seeing you on the commercials for the car show, and I seen you and the other two guys would even do a race. I think you guys had a race, right?
We race all kinds of stuff, bang stuff up. I jumped a couple of things. It's a lot just hijinks in cars. I love cars because of my dad. Now here's the OCD I got, and and you say the stories we tell ourselves and the thoughts that drive you crazy. My father Well, he could fix it. First of all, he was my hero, so I still is to this day. He could fix anything. And I didn't have that mechanical ability. So right away, I was less than in my father's eye, and I always felt less than.
Sure.
Until actually he saw me do stand-up, and that's when everything changed. But I couldn't fix cars, but he could fix them, and he would try to explain it to me. And I would work on the car and try and be like him. I remember once I'm in the garage. I'm trying to work on the car, and it's not going well, Paul. Oil's leaking, blood spurting, wrenches are falling. My father's standing in the doorway smoking a Lucky, just looking at me. I'm sweating. It's not going well at all. He comes over, he puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, son, put the wrench down. You're going to have to do something for the rest of your life. You have to get a job and work at something. This ain't it.
I already like this guy.
Yeah, this ain't it.
You know it's bad when there's more of a blood stain than an oil stain in a garage?
Yeah, when there's more fluid coming out of me than the thing I'm trying to fix. You're fucked, Paulie.
You know what I love? That your dad was so quick and intuitive to look at you for like 5 minutes and just go, yeah, no, this is not going to.
This ain't it. And every kid wants to be like his dad, and I'm like, so I felt terrible. But he would always take time to explain cars to me. And when I was a little, he put my name on the plumbing truck. That was the thing. He was a plumber. So we had these plumbing trucks. Okay. And my name was on a Chevy. I was like, oh, look at that. And then my brother's name were on it. And I could sit in his lap and steer and stuff. And he would explain to me, I know how they work. I don't have the if then go to statement to fix them. Now I can't. Now you don't even need a wrench. You need a computer. You got to reflash everything. It's all computers.
It's unreal.
But back then it was like, it was a carburetor, it mixes with gas and air, goes into the cylinder. You know how it works, but you can't fix them. So that's where I liked cars. My father always told me, I remember I got my first TV deal. I was moving out to California. Got to get a car, an apartment and stuff. And my father pulled me aside. He goes, listen, if you ever get jammed up, you pay off your car first. No one's ever going to come and tow your house away. Okay.
Oh my God, that's so great.
Yeah.
Have it paid. Have it paid off then.
Pay it off. Don't worry. You can always barricade yourself in a house. They can't throw that away. But you have the same thing that you told on my show that was a fodder for a conversation we had, was your little nugget of successes when you got your Lexus. That was a thing for you.
Yeah. So I always had, what I did was I can't say that I had lemons, but when I started to always go to Manhattan from Westchester and do spots, I was in Toyota Camry. Very reliable. So Toyota Camry, I would just fly on the highway. It was nice. But then the level up from that is a Lexus. And when I got the Lexus, man, and I just sat in it and I was like, wait, leather seat, like white leather, like a wooden steering wheel that I used to, you know what I would do too? My wedding ring, I would just tap it on the wood steering.
Yeah, I got a Mercedes. I got the wood wheel. I tapped the wheel.
You tap the wheel with the thing.
Tap the wheel with the ring.
And I would be going 85, feeling like nothing, just like a cloud. And it was really like, and then I just started to like cars more and more. And now I start to watch them and really see what's coming out. And I'm saying, is Lexus going to come out? Because you know what's happening, Adam? They're starting to get electric now. And I'm starting to think that's going to be,
GM's going to stop making internal combustion engines in 2035. That they made that announcement.
Wow.
Rebar is ahead of GM. They're going to stop. Look, they're a necessary evil. I mean, there's Tesla's running around in California. They're all running around out here. So they're all, but that's 150 grand. I mean, you can get into, I'm quoting 47 was the last time I saw the Mustang E, which is the electric Mustang, which is actually a crossover. It's a 4-door. But the nameplate is very valuable to Ford. So that's why they made the E. But you can get out here, you can get a Fiat 500E, which is the electric little Fiat.
Yeah.
For almost like $100 a month, just to lease the thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like not a lot at all to get into it. But there is a place in the look. I don't find them fun because I find it it's not a car, it's an appliance. A car to me has got just I'd rather drive than have transportation. I like to drive. I always like to drive. I would rather I'm in California. Every time I play Vegas, I'll drive. You know, I'd rather drive the 4 hours, be by myself in my car, and open it up. And I'm friends with the guys over at Shelby, the Shelby Auto Museum in Vegas.
Wow.
So they said, well, come on and you can host our event. I go, we'll fly you in. I'm like, or give me something fun to drive. They sent me the GT 500, and I was driving it through the desert.
Hey, really?
Yeah, it was great. I had it for a couple of days. I'd make believe I was Jim Morrison driving through the desert.
How fast was it?
As far as you allegedly, I got it up to $120. You know, having fun.
Rumors have it.
Rumors have it. Fastest I've ever gone was I did 188 in an F12 Berlinetta, a Ferrari, on a causeway. And I wanted to go 200 miles an hour, Paul, because that's I think it's a 212 mile an hour car.
Wow.
I've never gone 200 miles an hour, but at like 187, I got like my ass sensed a speed wobble. Now, when you feel the speed, that's just at 140, the car starts getting light. So it starts coming up you can feel it. And then after that, you just wham, and this car is like this Ferrari just built for this thing. But I felt a little speed wobble, and I was talking to the camera too. So there's a lot of shit going on at 108 miles an hour. I went, yeah, it's enough.
Wow. Yeah. You know what? I will tell you, my buddy has a Tesla, and that thing got me nauseous. It was because the thing with the Tesla is, you know, the way in a car, something needs to happen in order for you to go, right?
This is instant torque.
This is it was instant torque, and I'm getting nauseous, and I'm a passenger. I'm used to driving. So I had like the whole thing, and I'm just going, I feel like I'm on a ride. They really are fast. But I agree with you. I wish that there was a way that like the gas cars wouldn't get completely phased out, just because it seems like a piece of America goes away.
Yeah, it's that, and it's alive too. I bought a car from Top Gear. I bought the piano car. If anyone watches the show, the piano Buick. Where I put a piano on the roof of this old Buick because the radio was broken. So I had a guy playing the piano when I was driving around. And the car was that big that I could do it. So I bought the Buick. It was a 70 Electra 225. Street name's a deuce and a quarter. So I bought this old deuce and a quarter. I took the piano off, Paulie. And we refixed everything. And
I show up to your house. There's a piano sitting on top of your car.
Yeah, that's Edgar. What do you want to hear? Edgar, he likes Elton John. My friend Paul, don't embarrass me. And don't fall off again. You make the kids cry when you fall off. So, but that car's got no catalytic converter. It's got a big 455 in it. And you start that thing up, it's you're driving. I connect with the car when I'm driving because there's like you said before, there's blood, there's oil, the thing's breathing, you know, it needs air, you know, it's a living thing, you know, the other one is a freaking computer.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, man. And I'm just getting more and more into these things. I got a really cool story to tell you.
Go ahead.
So when I was 21, 22, and 23 years old, I sold phone, cable, internet door to door in Queens and Manhattan. And I was high speed, you know, we can combine your phone, cable, internet, one thing. And it was a company called RCN. And our office building was in Queens, and I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy went to high school.
If it's probably Spiro, if you were in Astoria,
the guy went to high school with you, but here, that's the thing. I got to find, I can't. So he was also one of the sales guys.
Right.
And it was Queens. So guys probably from Long Island, whatever.
Sure.
And he was like, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this, but I dropped out of college to do this and do stand-up. You know, 21, 22, I started to do good in sales. And he's like, oh, you do stand-up. And then he goes, I went to high school with the guy, and then all of a sudden he says, Adam Ferrara. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, but like, to me, you were already, I'm like peeking my head in rooms. I'm like two years in, I'm not getting up anymore.
Knocking on doors going, you need to bundle, lady. You can save money if you bundle.
Exactly. If you put all these together, nobody's giving you HBOs like me. Listen, I got
for you.
I'll give you HBOs, and I'm doing a show tonight you guys could come to.
Yeah.
So you were like established and this and that, but he said Adam was a really like a ball busting class clown. That's That's what he said in high school in Long Island. And it was just kind of funny to like, because you hear about guys and you see guys that know guys and everybody goes off on their own path.
Sure.
And it's so amazing to me that like, you're telling me on the show here that your father was like, listen, cars is not, you're not going to be a mechanic. You know, you probably, did you try plumbing? Who knows?
Yeah. Plumbing. Yeah, you ain't gonna go good at that. You're going to burn yourself with the torch. Yeah.
I see your dad getting called into the principal's office and they're like, listen, he's just joking. And your dad's like, of course he is. And that's what his job's going to be because I tried out every other thing.
Yeah. Don't let him fix the sink.
You should be lucky.
It was funny because my father, when he would come to school, because that's how I fit in, Paulie. I could, first of all, I got bullied as a kid. You get bullied?
My mother moved me a lot. So what would happen was
couldn't hit a moving target.
I would be popular and I'd play sports and I would get girlfriends and I'd be one of the popular kids. And then boom, new school, devastated, defeated. And then they saw that. And then it was like, not so much like bullied him, but just kind of like, oh, he doesn't matter. I was just new. It was like, oh, that's the new kid. Forget him. So like I went from popular sports guy to now new kid. And that hurt me. And some kids took advantage of that.
Yeah. I would get bullied on the butt. Well, they started, but I realized it's not that I could outthink them, but I was funny and I was quick. And that became the armor. That became the defense mechanism.
Yeah.
You know, that became like, you know, the kid, I could rip people down verbally and that's how I could defend myself. So while they were laughing, you know, I do it as I was running away, but I would still, you know, that's how I fit in. So, and that's how I fit in the family. And that's how I fit in on the jobs. Cause I still went to work. My father's in construction. I still went to work, you know, hauling tools and stuff and still doing stuff like that. And I wasn't really a physical. I felt bad. I've gotten a couple of fights, and I always felt bad hitting the kid, even though he wanted to hit me. Like if I landed one, and I hurt somebody, it hurt me.
Yeah, yeah. You and I are very similar in a lot of ways, and I noticed that the more I talk to you and the way you came up and people that you met and stuff like that. But you know, my father would say to me, "It's funny that you said use your mind." My parents got divorced. I was 5. My brother was 10. And my dad was not around a lot. So we, you know, and it sucked because I didn't have that figure there. And it was a very bitter, brutal divorce, you know, textbook, what not to do in 1982 when you're, you know, my mom was like, your dad did this. Your mom did this, put us in the middle. We didn't understand. We were moving, just a shit show. But one thing my father told me, and the one thing that if I can take anything, you know, he said to me, don't do drugs, because you're going to need and call upon your mind in your life. And he would always say that. And he would say it to me when I was like 11. And I'm going like, how does he know I'm not going to be a broker doing coke? Like, he doesn't, you know, like, and maybe I need the speed.
Margin call. We got a margin call.
Tell him to sell. No, it was one of those things where like, that's the one thing that I took was like, use your mind. Yeah. And I'll tell you a story. You're the first person that I ever told this to. Nobody ever knows this. I've never told this before in my life. I'm going to tell it to you.
You waited for episode 493 to tell people. Okay.
When I was a little kid, this is before they got divorced. They lived in a beautiful Tudor, Scarsdale, New York, Westchester, great schools, the whole deal, right? Moving up. My dad was a big wig at AIG. I'm 5 years old, whatever. There were twins that lived next door and they were around 8 years old and kind of big bruising kids. They were 8. I was 5. They're picking on me, one of them. And one of them says, I want to fight you. And my dad was at the door watching. And I knew that the kid was bigger and could hurt me. But I said, all right, I'll fight you, but you're taller and bigger than me. So if you get on your knees, we're the same height. So I'll fight you, but you got to be on your knees. So he's laughing at me. And he gets on his knees. And right when he gets on his knees, I punched him in the stomach. And he held his stomach and he rolled over crying. And him and his brother went inside crying. And my father said he walked out so proud. He picked me up and he brought me in the house. And he was like, I literally watched you outsmart somebody that could have hurt you. I mean, he's like, I obviously was there watching, but I saw your mind go, all right, listen, it's fight or flight, literally, right?
Yeah.
But what you did in that moment was that, and he would always tell me, like, ever since I saw you do that, you would always do things like that. So you made me think of that when you said that, like, when you're bullied and you're in a situation, you just use your quick wit and you just use that in order to either get acceptance and get laughs. And it's kind of funny that we're both in the profession we're in, because that's kind of the guys that we were little.
Yeah, I think I always look at it like those, when a deer learns how to walk, it's like wobbling on the ice. And then when it figures out its power, it can, but until you know the power, you don't know what your power is. You just know that I can do this thing to fit into this pack. And then when you realize I wasn't a fighter, Paulie, so I realized I had to adapt that skill. I'll tell you the story. I got got beat up at school. This kid just kept picking on me. Apparently, he didn't find me funny, Paul. So one day, just got too much. I picked up a garbage can. I hit him under the chin. Those old metal garbage cans. The one
like Sonny from fucking Sonny and the Godfather.
Yeah, it was like
again, you're dead. Except you don't have the.
I'm biting his hand.
But you didn't have the phantom punch. Remember when he didn't even hit him?
He didn't even hit him. He just went down. And he's sitting like this. He goes, listen, we're not doing this again. Don't punch in. I'm not shooting the master again. So I went to the principal's office. The kid was bleeding. I went to the principal's office. I actually talk about this on stage, and I'm sitting there, and they called my father, which is the worst thing you could do. My father, there was a sign outside a chain link fence that said, teachers, no parking, teachers only. My father parked the truck right in front of the freaking sign. Oh, yeah. He never came into the office because he was working. You don't pull him away from work. He was standing in the doorway, and the kid's bleeding. And the principal goes, Mr. Ferrara, your son, they've been fighting for a couple of weeks, from what I understand. Today, your son picked up a garbage can, hit this kid under a chin, and he's bleeding. And my father looked at the kid, who was bigger than me, looked at the principal and said, well, if I was you two guys, I'd stay the hell out of his way. Walked out the door, got back in the truck, and went back to work. I went home that night, and they suspended me. I got an envelope. I went home that night. And I said, Pop, they suspended me. Paul, he didn't look up from the plate. He just went, you go to school tomorrow. You go to school. Sign this. I'm just because I ain't signing it. Go to school. Principal's got a problem. You tell him to call me.
Oh, and you went to school.
I'm not going to piss him off. I went to school. The principal saw me. He's like, Mr. Ferrara, what are you doing here? I'm like, look, I'm just as shocked as you.
Oh my God.
Go to school. If there's a problem, you can call him. I don't recommend it, but this is what I'm doing. And I never heard another thing about it.
Oh my God. That is so that is such a great bit. My father, now you got me talking stories.
Yeah.
My father is just an old school Sicilian. Okay. Yeah. Grew up in the Bronx my father grew up in a Bronx Tale. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's just what it was, certain neighborhoods. And, my father always had to dress. My father's like, a man has a nice pair of shoes and a nice watch. Like, I remember one time I got in the car on visitation and I had sweatpants on, and he just looked at me like shaking his head. And like, my father, I was like, Dad, I'm 12. Do you want me to come in a leisure? Like, I don't know. I'm 12. Should I put on like Gucci shoes I mean, what do you want me to do? We're going to the movies.
Yeah. We're a student looking at a ventriloquist dummy. What do you want from me?
So he was just one of these guys, like, my son needs to be. So my older brother came home and he said, Dad, I sewed this for you in home economics. I sewed something.
Right.
So then my father, then like a week later, he said, Dad, I baked something for you. I baked you in home economics. So my father goes, what is it? So my father calls the principal. He goes, yeah, I got a question for I'm a little concerned. My father always says, and I talk about in my act too. When my father's upset, he's very nice, but when he's upset, he says he's a little confused. That's, So he'll just go, yeah, I'm a little, my son Christian came home a little confused. He one day he's coming home sewing me something. He goes, the next day he's baking me something. He goes, what are you guys doing over there? He goes, and he actually said something like, is he coming home in a dress soon or something like, and this is like 1980 something, but my father was just like calling these people. And let's just say it's good my father doesn't have little kids now.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
Because
what are you guys doing? Both my brothers are chefs, boy. One Christmas, almost the same thing in my family. One Christmas, what do you want Santa to bring you? My brother Johnny said, I'd like the Easy Bake Oven. Okay, now we got a problem. And I remember hearing my mother and father, whisper. When your family they're in the bedroom, and the Italians think they're whispering. They're not. Italians are always paranoid and think that they're like, you never let anyone outside this house know we talk about in here. Pop, the windows are open and you're screaming.
The neighbors are out front.
They can hear you. So I remember my father going, Luis, what is this? That's what he wants, Joe. I don't understand. What do I want? I wanted a son. All right. Now I got someone wants to cook with a friggin' light bulb. What is this? Because remember, it was a light bulb and cooked everything.
Dude, you know what, man? And it's funny because you see traits go down, right? Mm-hmm. Now I have an 11-year-old boy and I have an 8-year-old little girl. Mm-hmm. And my little girl got the Sicilian thing. My little girl is the one. She had a hamster bite her and then it got loose. And she said, Daddy, I heard we saw him. And she literally said, she goes, Daddy, I heard you guys saw him and he got loose. She goes, if you find my hamster, I need you to kill him. Like that's what she. But you want to laugh? And I hope my little girl never sees this. This is what she said to us. She's starting to get she's at 8, even more than my son. She's starting to get that Santa might not be. Mm-hmm. She says, my wife goes, Paul, just so you know, Sophia's starting to grill us about the Santa thing. So my little girl walks in and I see her mind. She goes, Daddy, what's going on with Santa Claus? And I go,
I'm a little confused.
I'm like, what's going on with Santa Claus? I go, what do you mean, baby? She goes, well, is he real or not? And I go, it goes, listen, the spirit of Santa Claus is that's real for everybody. I'm just bobbing and weaving. I'm doing everything. I got these little baby punches coming and I'm just, whatever, there's always a spirit of Santa Claus. And she goes, I know, but Daddy, is he real or not? And I go, yeah, Sophia, he's real. And she just paused and she looked at me. I swear to God, at him. She goes, well, I'm going to tell you something right now, Daddy. If he's not real, I'm going to be pissed. Adam, she said, if he's not real, I'm going to be pissed. And I obviously had to turn and walk away before I lost it. And then I said to my wife, I go, she just said that if he's not real. And my wife just goes, I know, we're in so I think we got maybe a year left.
That's it. You got till Christmas. That's all you got.
I got till Christmas.
Yeah. It's all coming out then.
And my son, blonde hair, blue eyes, looks like he's from Norway or Scandinavia because of my wife.
Right.
And my wife and my daughter is just the more Sicilian looking. So it's like you would think they're so different, but my daughter was the one who took like what your father, my father, like that came that she got that. Yeah.
The Gindaloon gene.
But it's funny to see it in an 8-year-old.
Yeah. Oh God, is that fun? I wish I had you so Santa Claus comes up when I was a kid, right? And we're driving my mother crazy. Mommy, tell Santa I want a bike, tell Santa I want Matchbox cars, and my mother just had it. She was smoking a Benson and Hedges. She lit a cigarette like this. She's like, Santa Claus is dead. She just
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Please tell me you do that in your act.
I did it a bit, but it actually happened, Paul. Santa Claus is dead. She would say that he died. It's it. It's over. She just couldn't take it.
It was a horrible reindeer accident.
My mother. So now we're like all upset. My mother slams the door. We go running to my father. right? And I go, Pop, Daddy, Santa Claus is dead. My father, without missing a beat, goes, yeah, the elves turned on him. This is what happens when you keep asking adults for shit.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Dude. Oh my goodness. You got me going here.
But yeah, that's the way it was in my head. It was the brutal honesty growing up with, and the Italians, and my father had no idea how funny he was. You know, he would.
No, they don't know.
They don't know how funny, and they don't know how they can put words together, and it's the perfect rhythm, and it just comes out of them. I'll tell you the story. This actually happened with my nonna, my great grandmother on my mother's side was in ICU. Right. So we're at she's 80 something years old. Mm-hmm. And we couldn't go up. We had to wait downstairs. So we waited downstairs with my aunt. My mother and father went up, came down in the elevator. My mother's crying. My father's rolling his eyes. We walk out and I hear my mother go, Joe, I don't think she's going to make it. My father goes, she's going to live forever. You watch. And he goes, how can you say that? My father says, because God don't want her and Satan's afraid he'll take over. Now get in the car. God don't want her and Satan's afraid she'll take over. That's what he said.
And the timing of that, like that's the beauty of that.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they're like genius comedians that without even know, it's like better than comedy.
Yeah. Because it just comes out of them. They have no idea how funny that they are. They just don't.
My father took us to the movies a lot. Mm-hmm. Because it was, the courts, unfortunately, especially in the 80s, and there was no abuse, there was no cheating. It was just a ugly separation.
Right.
And the courts gave my father like 11 hours a week with that. We saw him on Sunday from noon till 8:00 at night.
Okay.
So we'd have like a lunch, we'd do this, go out to the movies and go to dinner. So all day Sunday. And then on Wednesday, middle of the week, we would see him for like a dinner, hang out for a few hours and blah, blah, blah. So we didn't get to see, and then the rest of the week we're with my mother. A big thing that we bonded over was movies. Mm-hmm. And so one time I'm like, Dad, I want to see Roger Rabbit, So my father's getting angry in Roger Rabbit because he can't understand that adults want to pay to see cartoons and real people in the same thing. So my father's sitting there and he's going, look at this. And and I'm feeling that because I'm sitting there with my gummy bears. I just want to watch Roger Rabbit. And my father's watching this cartoon rabbit talk to a detective who's a human. Right. And my father's going, gets up and took us into Goodfellas. He goes, we're not watching cartoon. What is this, Daffy Duck and a fucking mafia guy? He's like, this is not, Adam, he was so fucking upset that he paid money to like see a story that was, and I think he was just like, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Maybe the guy's name is Roger Rabbit. Like, I don't know. Like,
look, I'm confused. Get your gummy bears. We're getting out of here.
We're getting out of here and we're going to see the story about Henry Hill.
Thing I know, you're going to sew me something. You're going to cook me something.
Normally I've having so much fun with you. This is one of the most fun podcasts I've had. I'm not even joking. This is one of the most fun podcasts I had all year. Normally I'd get out now because we're at the time, but I'm going to go if we could go a couple more minutes. Yeah, because this is just so great. And this podcast is going to be a big one. I can feel it. Uh-huh. So I want to ask you this. Because you have the relationship where I know where you met Dennis Leary and Dennis Leary took you under his wing. Mm-hmm. And it kind of reminds me of how like when Burr saw me and, something in him and he was a mentor to me and he saw me, moving up in comedy and stuff. And there's kind of a similarity there. So, were you in a situation where you performed in front of Dennis and he saw you or how did that go down if it's cool to talk about?
Yeah, I'd met him once at Stand Up New York, just to say hello. And neither one of us, I remember it. He doesn't, So I went in to read for a cop show called The Job, and I went in. It was on tape, so you know how those auditions are on tape. You're like, I'm never going to see these people again. So I just put it on tape, and I sent it in. I got a call. My agent called me and said, they want to test you on this show, the Dennis Leary show. And I was living in LA. I said, oh, okay, great. He goes, when? It was Thursday. I said, I'll come in Thursday. So Wednesday, he calls me up and said, you ready to go? I go, yeah, it's tomorrow. Where is it? Is it Warner Bros? He goes, no, it's in New York. So they got to fly me to New York. Oh, okay. So I get on a plane, I fly to New York. We're at Chelsea Piers. And I walk in and I read with Dennis. And the audition was Dennis, Peter Tolan, who wrote the show. Him and Dennis wrote the show. And a cameraman. And that was it. What I didn't know was Disney and ABC and all the suits were up, and the camera was a direct feed for them. Dennis set the conditions where it was just him and the two guys creating it and the guy just with the camera. So it was very relaxed. It was very easy. I met him. I said hello. We read the scene, and then we started improv. And then we just, which I knew how to do from the clubs. You know, I knew the games. So when he said, come on in, and, you know, there was one scene where I make an entrance and I say something. And I just went back 4 and 5 times and it was a game. You know, you go back, you come in, you say something, and he kept laughing and laughing and laughing. And I walked out and I said, thanks a lot. And I walked out, and I didn't know that I got the job, Paul, but I know I did well. You know, when I left there, and I was doing it I was a kid, but I was doing it long enough to realize everything that's in my power went right.
What you could control.
Yeah. Everything. It was just when I was just learning the concept of what can you control. And it was my first experience of being separated from outcome. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I don't know what happens, but I did the best I could. You know?
And it's funny because what I've learned that when you go on auditions, whether it be for a voiceover or you just go in and do a read, or even when you go in and read a couple of lines, or even doing morning radio, we know when we bomb, when it's okay, and when it was magic.
Yeah,
you just know. But if you did what you could control,
then you're done.
Then you're done, because it's like your agent's either going to call back and go, they loved you, they just went another way, or you got it.
Yeah. So it turns out I get the gig. Great. Couldn't be happier. Go in. We shoot. First day of shooting went great. Then I had a day off, and I did Letterman the next night. I did stand up on Letterman.
Wow.
Next day I came in. I'm in the makeup trailer. It's 6 a.m. Dennis walks in smoking, and he kicked the makeup chair I was sitting. He's like, hey. I go, what? He goes, I didn't know you were stand-up. I saw you on Letterman last night. That was fucking funny. He didn't even know I was a fucking stand-up.
Oh, he just thought you were an actor.
He just thought I was an actor. He didn't even know I was a stand-up. And our relationship changed. It didn't change. It got deeper in that moment, because Lenny knew I was a stand-up. And then we were on the set, and Lenny goes, the fuck is wrong with you? Of course he's a stand-up. You know, because that's when, I don't know. I made my bones to get the gig, but I was a stand-up. So, okay, I'm in now.
It's funny how it works with stand-up. When a guy that loves stand-up or watches stand-up and sees somebody really do something, it's amazing how the one thing about stand-up, it really is above all else in this business as far as the respect of people that love it, right?
Yeah.
You can get $2 million doing an acting gig, and you do okay in the acting gig, and it's great. But when the stand-up sees you, and you just do a silly 6-minute set in New York City and crush, they want to talk about that more than, hey, that great role that you got. It's amazing.
Yeah. First thing first, Paulie, just if I give you a little bit of advice, take the money. Take the $2 million.
Yeah, forget the 6-minute set.
But this is the other thing I noticed, and it's a phenomenon that I've mentioned before on my podcast, but it holds true. Like, if you go to these Hollywood parties and you go to all these things you got to go through for work, you know, premieres and all this other shit, if you look in the corner, you'll see all the stand-ups huddling together.
Yeah.
It's like a fraternity. We have an unspoken fraternity. Come on, you know, we will all gravitate together.
We kind of migrate towards each other, and we stay there, and we kind of tell those stories.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to, because you've done a lot of things, acting and TV and stand-up and specials, is there one thing that you did where you were like, with everything that I've accomplished in my stand-up and acting career and everything that I did that I'm proud of, the one thing that I hold as a badge of honor that I really, really hold the most sacred to me? Do you have one of those, or is it is there one or two things, or?
I got a couple stories. One thing I did was I have all my cue cards. They don't use cue cards anymore. But when I was a kid, I got my ones from Letterman. I got them from The Tonight Show. I got them from Late Night. So anytime there was a cue card, I asked for them. So I'm like a serial killer taking trophies, so I got them framed. So I have them on my cue cards. So that was kind of the badge of honor for me to go through the rites of passage to be a stand-up. Two things I did that really stick with me as a stand-up and two things as an actor. I played Carnegie Hall. I got a standing O at Carnegie Hall. Yeah. Dennis brought me out because I was doing it was part of Toyota Comedy Festival. And I just hit it right, Paulie. And I got a standing O, and Dennis brought me back out, and my mother and father were there. And he goes, "You got a standing O at Carnegie Hall. Your mother and father are here. Where are you?" Spotlight went on my mother and father. And he goes, "Your boy made it. Stand up at Carnegie." Everyone's clapping, and I put my hands up. Right. My mother comes backstage, looks up at my mother's this big, 5, and Dennis is tall. Looks up at Dennis, points a finger, and he goes, "Don't you ever do that again. You embarrassed me. If I wanted to be on the stage, I would have been on the stage." And Dennis just went, "Oh, sorry." So, but I played Carnegie Hall, so that was a badge of honor. Yeah. The next one, and this was a story because when we did the Rescue Me Comedy Tour, we would always do. One year we did Radio City, and we were going to go on the tour. But we opened at Radio City for the premiere of the show. So I told my dad, I said, "Pop, I'm playing Radio City." Yeah, kid. Your mom told me. She also said you're doing the Mohegan Sun Casino. We're going to go to that one.
Yeah, it's so funny. I know.
Because he wants to gamble, right? Okay, fine. I said, "But you're going to come see me?" He goes, yeah, I'll come see unless I'm on a rush, but I should be there. Okay. So we're in the arena, right? And I did this old joke. I had this joke about Moses in the desert that was one of his favorite jokes, and I hadn't done it in years. He goes, "You can do the joke?" Yeah. I dusted it off. I did it, and it got an applause break. And as the crowds, I see my father, he's got a big shock of gray hair. He's older then. And I said, "I did the joke, Pop." And I just told the people in the audience, I said, "My father asked me to do the joke," and there he is. And they started clapping, and for my dad. And I forgot about it. We went on tour, forgot about it. He died maybe 8, 10 years after that. And he's close to the end, and I'm next to his bed, and it's just me and him. And he goes, it was a good night. I said, "What, Pop?" He's like, "That Mohegan Sun night." He goes, "You remember that?" I go, "Where?" He goes, "Yeah, when you did the Moses joke for me, and everybody was clapping, and then you said, 'There's my father,' and everybody in that place was looking at me, and I was looking at you."
Oh, wow! Oh, that's it right there.
Right there. That's better than any fucking.
Oh my God, dude!
Yeah,
that's just like it would be a sin for me to go on anymore on this podcast. Oh, yeah. So anyway, with Top Gear, no. If you, first of all, that is so incredible, and that's amazing. And I know certain things that matter in this business, and I had and I don't want to ever even come close to what you just said, but my father, the first and only time he ever saw me was Carnegie Hall when I opened for Burr.
There you go. See?
But I mean, what you had, I mean, for your father to be laying there, and say that to you, and that means that no matter what happened in that 8 to 10 years, the fact that thing stuck there, that's incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Ferrara. I mean, this has been one of the best Virzi Effect podcasts that I've had in a very, very long time. This is episode 483. You could get the Virzi Effect where you get all podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, everywhere that you get them. Check out my other podcasts, Anything Better, my Patreon, Gun to Our Heads. For all dates, you could go and you can check out paulvirzi.com. March 24th, I'll be at the Orlando Improv. The 25th, I'll be at the West Palm Beach Improv, and I got a bunch of new dates on the website. Adam, do you have anything for these people to go and check out?
Yeah, you got the Adam Ferrara podcast. The Paul Virzi episode is up now, and it's very funny. If you're in Philadelphia, February 25th through 27th, I'll be at Helium. I will be March 4th through the 6th. I will be at the St. Louis Helium, and I will be at the Tempe Improv in Arizona, March 25th through the 27th.
Adam is so fast, so funny, such a great dude. Check him out. Until next week, we're out of here.
Be good.